Hi, Hetal. I welcome you here today. I really appreciate you taking out your time on your weekend here in Gambia. So, before we go ahead with this lengthier understanding of your business and your work into this era, I would want you to introduce a bit about yourself so that we know that whom we are speaking with and we have a wonderful presence.
Sounds good. I'm Hetal Sonpal. I've spent about 25 years in the tech industry. Education background, I grew up in Bhopal. I did my schooling from Bhopal. I did my engineering from Indore, GSIDS. And I went on to do my MBA from Narsi Monji, Bombay. And I've had about 25 years plus in the technology industry after that. Out of that, I spent 16 long years with 4 companies, Wipro, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and Intel. And for the last 9 years, I've been a startup evangelist. What I mean is I invest, advise, and mentor startups. Interestingly enough, I've done short part-time and full-time stints with a few startups as well. And the amount of learning I was able to imbibe through my experience working with startups, I decided to go back to school. So I'm pursuing my PhD in entrepreneurship from IIM Kozhikode.
Sorry, from?
IIM Kozhikode.
Oh, nice.
That's about me.
I would like to actually hold on to that thought. It's a well said thing on that, because there's a thing when you read about something and there's a thing when you research about it, and then you get to uncover a lot of things on your own. Since we are doing this for a larger part of younger audience today, I want to understand how was your mindset when you were at the age of 21, 22? What were your thought process at that point of time? What were you looking forward to?
Well, that's not a odd question, because I regularly address my own daughter, who's 21 right now, and I keep telling her that she should not get overwhelmed by the amount of information or the amount of gyan which I give her, because at her age, at 2021, I was very much like any average 2021 Joe. I really didn't have any superlative powers, or I had no idea what I'm going to end up being. So I think the important part for youngsters at this age is to go with the flow. Keep your eyes and ears open. Believe in the power of observation, right? More than learning, you can learn a lot more by observing people around you, observe activities around you, and try and decipher meaning of your own. Because, the education system is doctored to provide almost similar stuff to everyone. But it is your innate intelligence or your observation power which can help you grow much faster than people around you.
Okay, that actually sounds great. So Hetal, the idea here is to make sure that we give an understanding for, as I said, the younger audience, specifically people from 20 to 24 years of age, to give them a vision of how they can maybe chart a career, chart a course in this direction.
Yeah.
We'd obviously be extracting the areas from your experience, and we'd be giving them a smoother understanding of how they can go forward. So I just want to start this by asking you if there's anything on the top of your mind that you would like to give or would like to say the person who's heading into sales and who's 20, 21 years old at this point of time and just aspiring for it.
Yes. I think universal mantra for anyone in sales is sky's the limit, right? Never ever sit back and relax and think that you achieved a lot, because there will always be larger goals. There will be always bigger milestones to achieve. There will be always more variations, and not in terms of your arsenal or in terms of the portfolio that you can handle, right? If you're created products, then you can move to services. If you're in product A, you can move to product B. If you're in B2C, you can move to B2B, and so on and so forth, right? So there is always a wide diaspora of stuff that you could be doing in sales. Never sit back and relax. Keep the journey going.
How would you easily define sales for someone who's just going to enter this field, as I said? Like an easy word or a layman understanding for sales.
I believe that sales is a fundamental life skill, right? I mean, you can't be having any degree of success in life if you don't have sales skills in you, right? I mean, the very fact that you look for a job is you're selling yourself.
Right.
And right from that moment, your sales journey starts.
Yeah.
Where if you're able to project yourself, and we all believe, and I think we should, that we know ourselves the best, right? We are the product which we are most familiar with. We should be able to sell, right? For someone who's looking at sales as a career, they should not get overawed by the demands. Like any other role, sales requires a little bit of understanding initially, but it's very natural, and over a period of time it should come through a goal. So don't get hyper, don't get anxious about the fact that will you or will you not succeed. Be honest and be candid both with your boss and your customer. Honesty trumps any time in sales, right? As long as you're convincing the customer that you're telling the truth, and even if that means that the product is not the best, the client would rather take you rather than be told some lie which might later on turn out to be wrong. Right.
Great to hear that, actually. Um, I went through your LinkedIn a bit, and Wipro, LinkedIn, Microsoft. You worked with these great names so far, and now that you're mentoring startups, you're mentoring these new age efforts to bring affordability and accessibility of major life skills into picture these days. For example, Hive School Walk for one matter. How has been your journey so far in transitioning from a full-time employee to something that you're doing for your own, and getting a very valuable career, or let's say very valuable insight of your entire work experience that you've got so far?
Yeah. I think that's a fundamental shift which every individual should evangelize for themselves. After working in a large organization, you tend to take life too easy. You assume that everything is set in terms of processes and systems, and that exposure to a startup ecosystem where you need to really start from scratch, don't take anything for granted, and understand the fact that everything will need to be built up, can really help you decipher and bring out many more aspects about you as a personality and the individual, which would never be known if you didn't get into an entrepreneurial career.
Right.
When I say entrepreneurship or startup, I necessarily am not saying a full-fledged startup. You could be in a consulting role, you could be in an advisory role, you could be in a mentoring role, but try and get your hands dirty and understand how it is for a new age or for a fresh startup to work. That experience can help you feel more complete from your career perspective.
Since the fact that you worked in Japan, and you told me it was a soft landing and you started liking the job, you change your domicile for a moment to Japan altogether, and you try to be with them in terms of your profession. When it talks to global immersion today these days, and people looking for sales in global area, maybe looking for US, maybe looking for any other time zone, what do you have to say with respect to current changing landscape in terms of sales, in terms of businesses, how people are getting prepared, and how you dealt with that?
I think the biggest transformation that we are seeing in sales, and of course this holds true for many other functions, is with regard to infusion of tech.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Tech, and to very large extent AI as well is coming in. But AI in sales was around for a bit longer already. Right? I mean, the fundamental information which we seek in sales is knowledge about the product and knowledge about the customer. Right? When I'm doing a product market fit, when I'm trying to analyze whether the customer requires my product, I have to decide what are the features or the offerings of the product which are aligning with the demands of the customer. Right. And if there is a match, I got it, right? From a tech perspective, information available at my fingertips on my laptop or on my mobile phone or in form of an app makes it a lot more easier for me to prepare myself as far as understanding the product is concerned. When it comes to selling to the customer, the amount of information nowadays available about the company I'm selling to, about the person I'm selling to, using the Sales Navigator profile of LinkedIn and going to the background of the customer whom I'm selling, can really make a lot of difference in terms of the quality of conversation I'm able to have with them, right? So I think that's a single huge dominating factor, which has now become quite prevalent, right? The more tech savvy you are, and of course, I'm just talking about B2B, right? But B2C is all tech.
Absolutely.
Everything which we sell online is purely dominant on tech, right from who I sell, where I sell, when I sell, what features I throw up to that individual in form of an app or an advertisement. Everything is tech driven, right?
Right. So when we talk about sales, business development, one thing that comes in anyone's mind is money, moolah. We talk about that a lot, and we talk about in our targets, we talk about in our achievements, we talk about in our desires, what we want to go for.
Yeah.
Technically, I should ask you, let's say, what a 20-year-old or 21-year-old should look like, or what should think that he or she would be able to make in terms of when they are going into sales and business development. So I'm talking from a money perspective, but I am also interested in knowing what's the experience that they can gather in these initial 3 and 4 years, apart from just the money, what they can carry in the pocket, right?
Yeah.
So I would want to touch upon on both the topics, both the money and the experience. How does that shape up, and what should they look forward to?
So I think the money aspect comes up as becoming highly relevant in a sales job compared to any other job.
Right.
It's because of the variable component or the incentive that you get for acquiring X amount of sales, right? And typically the salary for a sales personnel, whether it's a junior or a senior level, is broken up into either 2 or 3 pieces, right? Either 2 components could be a fixed and a variable, which could be there's a fixed salary which the individual is going to get every month. There's a variable component which depends on his targets and what percentage of target that he'll achieve. And the added third component comes up is in terms of stocks, right? So depending on the way the stock, equity stock grant structure is in the organization, certain performance-driven incentives might not just include a variable pay, it might include an additional stock allowances as well. Many times in the newspaper, people might come across exorbitant salaries of a lot of top-notch CEOs and CXOs.
Right.
Invariably, it's linked to their performance. Invariably, the performance is linked to sales. Maybe some of them might not be personally taking up sales quotas, but they might be directly responsible for the organization's sales growth, right? So CEO might take up additional responsibility and say, if the sales of the company goes from $200 million to, let's say, $300 million, there's a direct impact on the CEO's salary, even if his role or designation in the organization is a CEO and not a sales head. And that can actually make a lot of difference. The flip side, which not many people realize, is that if you join a great brand and you join a company which has got a existing large segment of business, it's easy to make money as sales.
Right.
But if you're in a company which is just starting off, the product is just new in the market, there are chances that you might not even make 100% of your salary. You might make 0% of your variable component, which can again make a big dip or dent in your monthly income, and that you need to be mentally prepared for.
We talk about job being easy or job being difficult or job being just to the point on that. I have felt, for that matter, when I joined this industry, I was completely away and different from what I was studying in my college and what I was doing. Basically, there was a gap in what I was doing and what I was studying for. We see this gap in industry readiness with respect to the students which are now coming as well, and I believe even though we have a lot of tech infused, this gap still remains, and people are unable to maybe bridge it or maybe overlap it.
Yeah.
What do you have to say with respect to overlapping, overbridging that gap? Where should we look at, and how do we identify it at the first place?
So I think an important element which students need to realize both at school level, undergrad level, and most importantly at the postgrad level, is to constantly expose themselves to various industries, various roles, various functions, and be totally on top of what's going on in the market. Because what job you get after your undergrad or after your postgrad is not known to anyone.
Right.
It could be a daycare startup to a deep tech startup,
Right.
to a Google or a Microsoft, right? You would obviously pick up whatever comes your way. Very few people have the luxury of choice of saying no to one company because they got another company.
Right.
In that scenario, your level of readiness in multiple different businesses, industries become very important.
I'd like to go a different way here, and I just recently got to know that you also have written a book, Against All Odds. I think it's based on your father's journey, right?
Yeah.
What was your inspiration behind it? Like, how did you write it? I know it's about your father's journey, but then what made you write it? What made you go forward with writing, such a book that could reflect a life's journey?
Yeah. So whenever there's reference to the book, I feel very happy because I call it my most important project in life.
As you should be.
Yeah, I think it was purely coincidental that I decided to suggest to my dad way back in June 2019.
Uh-huh.
He was diagnosed with cancer, and his first chemo had just started. And I randomly told dad, you need to help me on my next project. And what it was, I said, I'm going to write a book on you, and he was simply overjoyed. So my dad was no celebrity. He was no big shot in any way, but he encountered multiple challenges in his life, and I felt those challenges need to be brought out for people at large to know that you can even be a common man and still display extraordinary courage in facing up challenges which you face in day-to-day life. So that way, I think the experience was quite phenomenal. I got to know a lot many things about my dad just because I was going to write a book on him. And I think the kind of reviews I got, the kind of feedback I got when people read about him in the book was very heartwarming because, and I think to a great extent, anyone who's read the book, the purpose of the book has been served because they're able to get the underlying meaning. It's not about me trying to publicize my dad or to talk big about it. It's the learnings which I was trying to share, and I think that's been a great success.
It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure is mine as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot from your experience. We've had a shorter time of conversation here, but I would love to catch up with you again and to understand how you're looking forward to life in further in like 5 years and 10 years, because people like you inspire an entire generation, entire mindset of people, and I feel that we have a lot to look forward to from people like you further.
Thanks a lot for those kind words, and I always believe that I should just keep doing what I'm doing. Level of inspiration, the number of people who get inspired, of course, it's not in my control, but I continue. Thank you very much, and it was a great pleasure for me to as well share my own journey, and if people are able to learn from that, I would be the most happy. Thank you. For the founding cohort of 2025 Hive School, I wish them all the best. It's a transformational journey that you guys are entering into. It's not going to be easy. It should not be easy, but it's going to be a lot of fun. All the best.